Hey guys, come on downstairs. We're bringing a little NCAA Football 14 action to you today. It's our Cal State Fullerton Titans Dynasty, and we are getting Week 3 underway with our week preview. To start off the week, let's look at our top 25 coaches poll coming into this week. Clemson, still ranked number 1 at 1-0. They play Miami this week. Pretty good matchup there. Alabama 1-0 plays Texas A&M. Oklahoma is 2-0. They beat Virginia this past week, and they will play Pacific this week. Ohio State is number 4 at 2-0. They beat San Diego State. They're off. LSU 1-0. Had a bye last week. They play Kent State this week. Number 6, Notre Dame is 2-0. They beat Michigan a week ago, 17-14. This week they will play at Purdue. Florida is 2-0. They beat us last week, 38-10. They are off this week. Georgia at 1-1 comes in at number 8. They are off this week as well. They beat South Carolina last week. Oregon, coming off a bye, will have Tennessee. And we talked about Texas A&M playing Alabama. Number 11, Washington at 1-0. They had a bye last week. They'll play Akron. Michigan lost to Notre Dame. They're off this week. Number 13, Utah 2-0 beat Idaho State. And they will play Oregon State this week. Penn State 1-0, coming off a bye. They'll take on the UCF Knights. And number 15, Auburn is 2-0. They beat Arkansas State, and they'll play Mississippi State this week. UCF number 16, we already mentioned that they will be playing Penn State this week. It is their first game of the season, so they had the first 2 weeks off. Michigan State 1-0, coming off a bye. They'll play North Dakota. Wisconsin 2-0, beat Howard. They will play Maryland. Iowa at 2-0 is number 19. Nebraska at 2-0 is number 20. Number 21, Stanford 1-0. They beat New Mexico State, our opponent for this week. And they will play San Jose State this week. Virginia 1-0. They're coming off a bye. They'll play North Carolina State. Miami, we mentioned before, is playing at number 1 Clemson. They beat Colorado State a week ago. Number 24 is Missouri. They beat Toledo. And number 25 is the Texas Longhorns. Let's get into our preview of this week's opponent, the New Mexico State Aggies, starting off with a season review. They've played 2 games so far. They started off against number 10 Texas in week number 1. You may remember this game from a few weeks ago, or a few episodes ago. Keontae Ingram runs in the touchdown for Texas, and the Longhorns go up 7-0. But Matt Romero strikes to Isaiah Lottie down the left side for 62 yards, and New Mexico State evens up the score at 7. Early in the second quarter, Matt Romero on a 3rd down and 13 finds Anthony Muse over the middle. That drive ends in a New Mexico State field goal, and they would take a 13-7 lead into the halftime at Austin. And then on a big 3rd down, Keontae Ingram only picks up 3 yards, and Texas would have to settle for a long field goal. The kick squeaks over the crossbar. It's 13-10 New Mexico State, and the story of this game was huge 3rd down conversions by a gutsy Matt Romero and the New Mexico State Aggies. Another one here on 3rd down and 14 to Xander Yarborough, a defensive end converted to a tight end. Picks up 23 yards on that, and then Matt Romero straight up the middle with an 11-yard run, sets up another New Mexico State field goal, making it 16-10. Still a 1-score game, though. Early in the 4th quarter, Matt Romero takes off running, picks up the 1st down, but he coughs up the football. And at this point, we start to think that maybe this is a turning point in the game with Texas only down 6. But they go for it on 4th down and 6. And Sam Ehlinger cannot pick up the 1st down. The New Mexico State defense holds strong. Still a 16-10 game, and another huge 3rd down conversion for Matt Romero, New Mexico State. This one to O.J. Clark. Would end in a New Mexico State field goal. And then, to make things worse for the Longhorns, a sure touchdown pass bounces off the hands of a receiver, and it's picked off by New Mexico State, pretty much sealing the Longhorns' fate. A 19-10 win over Texas in Austin for New Mexico State to start off the year. Then they headed out to number 21 Stanford in Palo Alto, and they were in this game but fell 31-26. So they come in at 1-1. They play us in week number 3. Then they will play UCLA, San Diego State, New Mexico, Minnesota, Boston College, Rice, Louisiana, BYU, and Florida Atlantic. They are an independent team. They don't have a conference, and that schedule, even with the win over Texas, it might be asking a lot for New Mexico State to become bowl eligible this season. But they're off to a pretty good start, and they probably expect to beat Cal State Fullerton here in this upcoming week of college football. All right, let's take a look at the program comparison here. New Mexico State comes in at 1-1. They've played over 1,000 football games in their history. Probably one of, I can't imagine too many teams that are undefeated in bowl games. They've only played 3 of them, though. They are 2-0-1, and they come in with a losing streak of 1 against Stanford. All-time Cal State Fullerton, 107, 151-3. Our bowl record is 0-1. We lost to NIU in 1983. We have 2 conference titles, one in 1983 and our last one in 1984. And we have lost 5 in a row dating back to 1992 before the program folded. New Mexico State's leaders, Matt Romero, 501 yards, 3 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Jason Huntley is their leading rusher at 81.5 yards per game. Anthony Muse, their leading receiver at this point of the season at 67.5 yards per game. Ferguson leads the team in tackles with 10. Bell has 1 interception. Nobody has 2 for them. And Wilcox has 2 sacks for New Mexico State. All right, let's look at our Cal State Fullerton stats after 1 game, a loss at Florida. Carl Morris, 19 of 28, 203 yards, no touchdowns yet, 1 interception thrown. Jack Weldon ran for 68 yards last week in Gainesville, had 1 touchdown, the only touchdown of the game for Cal State Fullerton. Marcus Burton, 5 catches for 56 yards, and Tyler is our leading tackler with 7. Mooney did have a pick, and we never got to the Florida quarterback, so no sacks yet this season for Cal State Fullerton. Let's look at the top players for the New Mexico State Aggies, starting with a wide receiver, Tony Nicholson. He's number 87. He's a senior. He has great top-end speed, good awareness as a senior. He's super elusive, and he can run for days. He was a cross-country runner in high school. His best moves are his juke move and spin move. His weaknesses are catching can be a problem. He has fumbleitis, and if catching's a problem not in traffic, it's definitely a problem in traffic. Quarterback Jared Phipps, number 29. His strengths, acceleration. He's the leader of the secondary. He's not a big guy. He's 5'9", 167. He's solid in press and man coverage. He's a good tackler. He's short, but he can jump. He's susceptible to play action. He doesn't have great hands, and he doesn't get off blocks, being a pretty small guy. O.J. Clark, a wide receiver. Acceleration rating of 99. He's super slippery. He runs a sub 4.4 40. He's a good leaper, has great experience as a senior. His weaknesses are he's a little bit drop prone. He's not great in press coverage. He doesn't get off the line very well, and he's not good in traffic. New Mexico State, their receivers are fast, but they don't have the best hands. Matt Romero, his strengths, acceleration, and agility. He's experienced, he's durable, has what they call moxie. He doesn't wear down. His weaknesses are sometimes he can try to do too much and cough up the football, doesn't have a great arm, and he can get happy feet and take off a little bit early. And you see his numbers after 2 games for the senior Matt Romero. On the defensive side of the football, another player, Roy Lopez, a senior right end. He's smart, he has good power moves, good block shedding, can play tackle and edge. He's a very sure tackler. His weaknesses, he can tire against good run O-lines. He's not super good in coverage, and he's not overly athletic. So New Mexico State comes into this one as an 8.5-point favorite on the road in Fullerton. And so we've got our work cut out for us in this game if we want to get our first win of the season. Let's look at the rest of the week that we will be seeing highlights of. UCF, number 16, at number 14, Penn State. I give Penn State 5.5 points in that one. Alabama at Texas A&M, 5.5 points I'm giving for the Crimson Tide. I think they're probably favored in that one. Iowa at Iowa State. I think Iowa would be favored about 8.5 points. They're 2-0. Iowa State's 1-1. Pacific at Oklahoma. I'm giving Oklahoma 29.5. You might want to take the over on that one, though. I believe Oklahoma might beat that spread, 29.5. Miami, number 23, at number 1, Clemson. Giving Clemson about a 17.5-point favorite in that game. Ole Miss is at number 25, Texas. That one is a toss-up. I'm giving Texas the edge because they are in Austin. Oregon State at 2-0 is at number 13, Utah in Salt Lake City. Giving Utah an 8.5-point favorite in that game. Mississippi State at number 15, Auburn. Both teams are undefeated at 2-0. Giving Auburn a 4.5-point edge in that one. And Duke at 2-0 at Georgia Tech. At 1-0, we play Duke next, so we are interested in that game. Actually, we play Pacific next, and then we play Duke. So Duke is on our schedule, but not next. Fresno State at Colorado. I'm giving Colorado 6.5 points. UTEP at BYU. I'm giving BYU a 13.5-point favorite in that one. Tennessee 2-0 at Oregon 1-0. I'm giving Oregon 9.5 points in that one. And so we'll see highlights of all of those games in the 4th episode of this week number 3. But up next, it'll be game day against the New Mexico State Aggies from Cal State Fullerton. It's our home opener here of season number 1 of Cal State Fullerton Titans Dynasty on Mama's Basement Sports Gaming.